if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because it's just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But you know, if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good evening and welcome to the Backlog Files. I am Adam. With the slightly more annoying version of this, of uploading this podcast. If, you probably heard me talk about it, and I'm sure I'm not the only person to have addressed this shift that has come from Spreaker, where they got rid of the editing thing that was kind of built into it. They did, and the big downfall of that is that now I gotta cut the episodes myself and not just put it all into a thing and be done with it. It's slightly more annoying, and this is the first episode we're going to be doing like that. That's also why yesterday's 30-minute reviews didn't have an intro, is because I uploaded it too late because I had already shut the thing down, so I had to... It's a long story. Anyway, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Pokémon Platinum. The third version that came from, that came from Diamond and Pearl, for Generation 4. It is an interesting situation, to say the least. Like, this whole thing with the third version, I think that I get why they do it. I understand why they do it. It's like, not to call it a cash grab, but like I've talked about it when I've done the reviews of more recent games, where it's like, look, the DLC is essentially the additional content from the third version. I'm fine with them foregoing the third version and selling me the DLC, so I'm not forced to replay the game just to experience this new part of the story. I'm fine with that. And one of the things with this is, I think that the way it's handled here is kind of the weirdest version of it, because, like, looking at, kind of the way like, here's the thing. The story events for Emerald compared to Ruby and Sapphire is what it should have been from the beginning. Like, because if you're going to have this mythos of these three, that makes the most sense. This just feels like an alternate timeline version of Diamond and Pearl, in a weird way, where it's basically the same story. It's not like in this version, like, Giratina has anything that's designed to be different. It's just Giratina's awakened. And this is also the introduction of the new forms for the Legends. So we get Origin Form Giratina that we don't get for the Alga and Palkia until Legends Arceus. Like, this might be the cash grabbiest of the cash grabby, third versions. Because I think this is the last third version. We don't get a Pokemon Z. There's no Pokemon Gray. There's no, Pokemon, like, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, like, whatever, Crystal. There's no, there's no Z. There's no Pokemon Gun, for Sword and Shield. This is the end of it. This is the last time they do it, and I think part of it is this feels the most cynically done because I think the story doesn't accommodate Giratina in the way that the story really accommodates what's it called? In the way the story accommodates Rayquaza in Emerald, or the story, or like if you look at Crystal, it's like Crystal is basically a DLC. We've talked about it, where it's like Crystal. The main difference is the Suicune quest line, where Suicune has a main story. You don't get that, you know, like this might be the worst of it. Because at least there were a lot of technical limitations that were fixed, and a lot of things that were improved on, and a lot of things that were tested that would be used in the future in Crystal. The GTS is tested, Battle Tower is introduced, and kind of the beginnings of that. When you get to what was the other big one that they like, even quality of life improvements, like showing us what route we're in, was new, and that's introduced here in Crystal. I don't think there's anything in Platinum that really puts you in a place where you have to like. It's the definitive edition, and I think for that reason, this game is higher on our list than Diamond and Pearl. But the only meaningful addition, like the only meaningful change to me in this game, is the introduction of the Battle Frontier being the way it is. And even so, it's like, if we're gonna get into it, I think Heart Gold and Soul Silver do a better job of implementing that. There are so many pitfalls in Sinnoh as a region that make this game hard to play that aren't really handled any better. Like, yes, they fixed the issue with the surfing speed, where it's just, you're not surfing for just long periods of time and moving so slowly. Like, yeah, you're moved back to correct speed, but the traversal issues around, Snow Point City and leading up to Snow Point City are still there. The marshlands are still a pain to get through. I think the Great Marsh is the worst iteration of the Safari Zone that we've had in any of these games. And I think to that end, like this situation that we have here kind of feels what's I looking for here? Like it still stays there because I think Sinnoh is definitely the least replayable region because of the amount of just nonsense. That said, because of the integration with the Wii and the amount that I played Battle Revolution, the amount that I played like Pokemon Ranch and things like that, I did lock a lot, not log a lot of time. But even with this, it was not even with Platinum because Platinum wasn't compatible. It was with Pearl, like, which is a shame because I think this is the definitive version of this game. Like, this is the definitive version of this, and and we'll get to it probably early next year when we talk about Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. I would argue Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are not that bad either. I would argue they are like, it feels different and it feels like a step back, but that's only because it's going back to doing a faithful remake of, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. I think if you're gonna play these games, that's the definitive way to do it. But I think fundamentally the issue is, with this, there's a lot of issues just with the region's design, and the fact that there are so many caves that are just kind of integral to not just the story but the layout of the map. That I'm like Mount Coronet, I don't think is a fun dungeon. I think it's too easy. Again, the fog mechanic as a new thing, it's just kind of like, it's just a new version of Flash that's not as good. Like, it's just kind of a weird situation to be in for most of the game. And then you get to the post game, and it's like, okay, like, what's the difference in the post game? Let's address that. Because even in the the post game, not post credit, the post game, like, the only major addition that exists within this is the Battle Frontier. Because, like, yeah, they added in Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos. So I just double checked. So I'm like, is there something else I'm forgetting? Because, like, all the other later versions, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, the extras in, with the exception of Scarlet and Violet, the additional part always added in new legends to hunt and new ways to hunt legends, and that was always something that would keep you entertained because hunting on legends was something that was difficult and the battle was somewhat hard. I don't think that there's anything like that here. You get the Battle Frontier, but if you're not a fan of the Battle Frontier, which I wasn't, I was like, okay, well, what's the key difference? Especially when, and I'll say it again, the Battle Frontier is 1-to-1 ported to Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It is identical to Heart Gold and Soul Silver's Battle Frontier. And I think that the issue is, this one was first, I think. Yes, this was first. This was 2009. 2010 was Heart Gold, Soul Silver. So yes, it's lazy on the part of Heart Gold and Soul Silver to just port it 1-to-1, but at the same time, Heart Gold and Soul Silver is such a better game that if you want that experience, the better way to get it is through playing Heart Gold and Soul Silver, not through this, which is unfortunate, and I think that really does weigh against it. What else have we got that I wanted to address with this? I I do think that there are, you know, better. There are definitely better Pokemon games. I'm not saying that like this is definitely like this is the worst. There have been a lot of shitty games. I just think that like when we get to it, it's like the definitive difference between this and like the next one. Like the definitive difference between this and Diamond and Pearl that puts us above it is the fact that it has the, not the Battle Frontier, but the fact that it has the built-in, the some of the problems have been fixed. But that's the only thing I can say is better than. The only thing I can definitively say that this is better than is Diamond and Pearl, which is really a shame. So let's go to our rankings and see where we are, because I think we're going to keep this kind of in a pretty understandable place. Yeah, I think this is better than what was I smoking when I put it above Trozy. I think that it's not as good as Red and Blue above Diamond and Pearl, so we'll put Platinum there. As another 3. Which brings our ranking for the first 24 Pokemon games. Number 24, Hey You Pikachu. Number 23, Pokemon Dash. Number 22, Pokemon Pinball. Number 21, Pokemon Channel. Number 20, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. Pokemon Puzzle League. Number 19, the Pokemon Trading Card Game. Number 18, Pokemon Trozy. Number 17, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Number 16, Platinum. Number 15, Red and Blue. Number 14, Stadium. Number 13, Stadium 2. Number 12, Snap. Number 11, Yellow. Number 10, Gold. Number 9, Crystal. Number 8, Ranger. Number 7, Ruby and Sapphire. Number 6, Fire Red and Leaf Green. Number 5, Coliseum. Number 4, XD. Number 3, Ruby and Sapphire. Number 2, Emerald. Number 1, Blue and Red Rescue Team, which will bring us to the end of our proceedings here today. Our next episode will be about Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.